What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am C,
I am P.
and today we're gonna be talking about giving our thoughts on climate change. We saw a video about I don't know if you guys know who Greta Thunberg is, but she was just this girl. I think she went to the UN actually to talk about climate change.
Really?
Yep, I think so. And it was all over the news or whatever. And then we're gonna see. I think it's a video of what she talked about it, and then Jordan Peterson, you know, talking about climate change, and we're gonna compare the two viewpoints. You know what I mean? On them.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of her?
No.
Yeah, she was gay. He was like, "How dare you?" With that meme. How dare you? You hear that meme? Yeah.
No.
But yeah, like we're gonna compare the, I don't know how old she is. So
That's pretty young.
I don't know how even me, I don't really completely understand climate change. What's happening. I know the gist of it, but I'm not gonna tell the world how to,
What they need to do.
yeah, because I don't really I don't really know that much into it, so I cannot tell somebody like the government how to deal with climate change. I don't really understand it myself, so I doubt she understands it that much to be given advice. I'm pretty sure Jordan Peterson understands it better than she does, but we're gonna see the different start they have on it.
Yeah, anything with Jordan Peterson it is
Exactly.
pretty amazing.
You always learn something.
Yes, exactly. As always, let us know what you think about this video in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified for upcoming reactions. Again, we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. We need your help to do that. Let's go.
And let us know what you think about climate change in general. Is it a hoax? Is it true? Is it as bad as they think there is? Is it beyond proportion? Is it not? And what we should do about it, I guess.
And what do you think about Jordan Peterson's stance on it?
And her stance on it.
Exactly.
Let's begin.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
I don't know what does she mean by they come to young people for hope? Is it like saying that young people is gonna be the future? Like that? Like they're saying that young people are gonna be the ones that's gonna solve this problem. Is that what you're talking about?
I guess.
That's the only thought.
There's a lot of issues. They always say that we're the ones that the younger generation are the ones that are going to be able to solve it, or it's up to them to pave the way for a good future.
Maybe that's what they mean, but let's continue.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
So I was wondering whether you thought climate change could be an issue that could unite us all on left and right, moving us beyond debates about C16 to discussions at the UN at Katowice next month, where perhaps humanity might finally discover its global map of meaning.
No.
Alright, so
beyond debate issue that could
on her first before I get to Jordan Peterson. Yeah, I think what she's saying sounds good. Like I saying all we got to go about is economic growth. Yeah, I was into a point where some things are more important than money, right? But to fix something as big as climate change is gonna require money. You know what I mean? So yes, we should. If climate change is true, because I don't know much about it to take a stance on it or whatever. But if it is true, then it's a big problem, right? And we need to come together to solve it. But it's easier said than done. You know what I mean? Because one country is not what's causing the, climate change. It's all the countries. Most first world countries, I would say.
Yeah.
Because they use fossil fuels, they use all the things, right? And United States, Russia, China, Korea. It's like these countries are not gonna automatically just cooperate and solve the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
So it's like, and
Just think
If
about
one-
the little
finish.
problems there
If
are.
one
They
country,
can't even sit
if
down.
one country do it, does that mean the other country is gonna do it?
Yeah.
And one country is not gonna make a big difference enough to stop climate change. You know what I
The
mean?
whole
So
world,
it's complicated. And like you, I think you were trying to say is like we are fighting about so much smaller problems.
Yeah.
Why do you think we're gonna come together for this big problem?
If we
You know what I
can't
mean?
even settle on the small ones.
And you can say, oh, because this problem is gonna affect all of us and it's gonna cause all of us pain. But
It
yeah,
doesn't matter.
but it's gonna cost so much to like, let's say like fossil fuels, right? Let's say we stop fossil fuel, right? We still need lights, we still need power. How are you gonna solve that? You think China, Russia is gonna choose to not give, even here, you think you can live without power for a month?
And everything costs money.
You know
like
what I
if you're gonna sit there and say like, well, we should all use solar power. Okay, well, to get the solar power, you know how much
costs
money
money.
goes into that. Every
And
house
it's not
that
it's not as you know as
Effective.
bountiful, I would say, as you know fossil fuels and all that stuff. Like I think less fossil fuel will create more power than like solar power is not as efficient as you know what we have.
You also think of domino effects. Like if you do something here to stop a bad effect that's going to happen, by doing this may cause another problem. So you get what I'm saying?
People not understand that you have to make sacrifices. You know what I mean? Like how many of us are willing to sacrifice? You know, less power, less. You know, let's say you can only. How many of us will limit our power usage for us to actually go to solar power? Because right now that's what we have to do, to limit power usage and sacrifice things to gain something else. How many of us will sacrifice this for just climate change? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Most people are not worried
And
about that.
a
you know
lot
what
of
I mean?
people think that it's like an easy fix, easy solution, but you're not talking about making a wish to a
I
fairy
think
godmother.
should
You're
make it
talking
sound
about
simpler than it actually is.
yeah.
But let's see what Jordan thoughts on it.
So I was wondering whether you thought climate change could be an issue that could unite us all on left and right, moving us beyond debates about C16 to discussions at the UN at Katowice next month, where perhaps humanity might finally discover its global map of meaning.
No. I mean, there's a couple of reasons. I mean, the first reason is that I spent a lot of time reading. I worked for a UN committee for 2 years on sustainable economic and ecological development and read a very large amount during that period of time and learned a lot, much of which made me much more optimistic than I had been before I read the relevant literature, which was a real shock to me. But the climate change issue is an absolutely catastrophic, nightmarish mess, and the idea that that will unite us is that's not going to unite us. I mean, first of all, it's very difficult to separate the science from the politics, and second, even if the claims, the more radical claims, are true, we have no idea what to do about it, and so no. And besides, it's even worse than that. Here's one of the worst things about the whole mess is so as you project outwards with regards to your climate change projections, which are quite unreliable to begin with, and the unreliability of the measurement magnifies as you move forward in time, obviously, because the errors accumulate. And so if you go out 50 years, the error bars around the projections are already so wide that we won't be able to measure the positive or negative effects of anything we do right now. So how in the world are you going to solve a problem when you can't even measure the consequence of your actions?
Well, the first thing you said was that it's difficult because we cannot separate the science from the politics. Because climate change is a big topic right now. Everybody is trying to. What politician can play? Okay, a politician can come and say, "Oh, I'm gonna make us do clean energy. I'm gonna, stop climate change, right?" And you get an applause. Right? But how much of that is true, and how much of that is just the politicians winning votes? One more thing. Second thing I want to talk about is how he says that, and the science part. It's like, how do we measure the difference? The choices we're making now, how do we measure how much it's going to affect the future? Because he's saying the further you go back, the bigger the error gap. It means that in 5 years, you might be able to calculate how much our actions now is going to affect 5 years from now. But as you go 10 years, 30 years, 40, 50 years, you might not even, you cannot be accurate or precise about how or the decisions we make now is going to affect the future. You know what I mean? We're not really sure
That kind of
how it's going to affect the future.
That kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like if you're looking at the spectrum, like Jordan Peterson said, right? And we do something here in the middle of the spectrum to affect it. We don't know if that by doing this, it's gonna cause something over here to go down,
or go up, or go sideways.
There's no actual measurement that it's gonna be a good thing. The decision we make now, until we can figure out if it's going to be a good cause, you can't really make a change. If there's not like a higher percentage chance that this is going to be good, you can't make this change because you don't want to risk it making it worse.
And I think the main point is that, you know, what if the changes we make now doesn't really have enough effect in the future anyways? You know what I mean? Like, we might make a big difference now. We think it's going to affect the future by like so much, but it's not even like 0.01%.
I was about to say, put it in percentages wise.
You know what I mean?
Let's say we make a change now and it's only like a 1% chance that it's actually going to do a good difference for the future. Or it could be a 50% chance that it does a horrible difference for the future. Why are we going to risk that percentage?
Exactly. It's like risk to reward. It's like if we risk so much now, we don't even have a guarantee it's gonna affect the future that much anyways. So
unless we have a higher percentage chance of guarantee, I'm not saying 100% chance, just a higher percentage of chance that there's a guarantee that it's actually gonna help our future and not make it worse or not do nothing.
At all, you know.
Then there's no reason to do something.
Let's continue.
Like, how is that even possible? How in the world are you going to solve a problem when you can't even measure the consequence of your actions? Like, how is that even possible? And besides that, well, what's the solution? What are we going to do? Switch to wind and solar? Well, good luck with that. Just try it and see what happens. We can't store the power. Germany tried it. They produced more carbon dioxide than they did when they started because they had to turn on their coal-fired plants again. That wasn't a very good plan. Well, we don't want nuclear. It's like, okay, what happens at night? The sun goes down. Well, isn't that something we should have taken into account? Well, we got to flip on the coal-fired plants. Well, so it was a complete catastrophe, and all that happened was the price of electricity shot up. It was like zero utility. So that's not a solution. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we should cut back. We can't consume as much as we are all consuming. It's like, well, maybe, except the data that I've read indicate that if you can get the GDP of people up to about $5,000 a year, then they start caring about the environment, and the environment cleans up. So
okay, that was what I'm talking about is that how Greta Thunberg, right? She was saying all this, but she wasn't giving a solution. Or what should we do about this? Yes, it's a problem. Let's agree it's a problem, right? What should we do about it? She doesn't give all I've seen about her is this video, so I'm not saying she never give a solution. But from this video, she hasn't given a solution to that, right? And Jordan Peterson is saying, you know, what is the solution? Well, he gave one. He said, if you increase people's income and like if people become more successful, they don't more likely to care about the environment. Instead of caring about what they're gonna eat tomorrow or you know what the kids are gonna eat tomorrow. Now exactly how they're going to pay rent. If they have this immediate things to settle out, then they can afford to think about the environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think he's saying that instead of just doing what you're doing now, how about we try to increase people's GDP? Then we all can collectively come together to care about the environment.
Yeah.
Basically what they were saying. I think
it's smart, but in reality, it's not going to happen. Because, like you said in the beginning, when politics are involved, the science goes out the window. Because politics just want to remain in control, and they like to speak all these pretty things, but they're not actually going to act on it. Because in politics' mind, it's all about the money. So, it's like you say all the time, it's a good in theory, but in reality, it's not good.
No, but rather that's more of like what he says is I think it's more it's more doable than trying to get all the countries to
It's
come
more
to get
doable,
together
but
to
in
do
reality,
that.
the odds of it's happening are slim to none because no politician, no Congress are ever going to pass that.
I'm not about politicians. I'm just saying.
Think about it now. Right now, even when Trump was in office, and even now when Biden's in office, they're trying to pass the law for wages to go up,
No, but,
and they're
but
fighting
I don't
over
think,
that.
But I don't think it's as simple as getting wages to go because the money's got to come from somewhere. You know what I mean? So I think it's that simple. I think it's
Well, I'm
finding.
just using that as an
Yeah,
example
exactly.
that even something that small about just making the wages go up, they're fighting like neck to teeth about. So, and what he's saying, yes, it's a good theory, and it would be possible to do, but it's not going to happen with the Congress and the politicians that we have.
What's
right
not
now
gonna
in
happen
the
though?
world. The money rising.
Yeah, but what I'm just saying, he's saying that. I'm not saying he says it's gonna happen. I'm just saying that's the solution he has. If we
Yeah,
can
I'm
find
saying
way
that's
to
a good
make
solution,
that
but
happen.
in reality, the odds of it happening are slim to none.
Yeah, but how are we gonna make that happen? How are we gonna get people out of poverty? I think that's a big thing. Is how we get people out of poverty, then they can care about these kind of things. I think it's about how you do it. I think the most thing people are gonna argue about is how to make that happen. Because I think like the Democrats want to just give people money. The Republicans gonna be like, nah, we just give people money. We gotta make them, wanna work and get better jobs. Work harder instead of giving them money. I mean, they're gonna argue about that, right?
Yeah.
But I
That's
think
what I'm saying. It
find,
boils down to money.
I know. I'm saying it's finding a way to have people make enough money so they don't have to care about the immediate stuff and care about the environment. Basically, let's continue.
You $5,000 a year, then they start caring about the environment, and the environment cleans up. So you could make a perfectly strong case, I think, and a reasonable one, perhaps even a humane one, that the actual idea would be to get everybody in the world who's poor, desperately so, out of poverty as fast as possible, which would increase consumption in the short term, because then they'd start to care about the environment and things would clean up. It's like, okay, well, what are we going to do about global warming? Well, good luck figuring that out. I don't see a solution on the horizon. I look at Bjorn Lomborg's work. I really like Bjorn Lomborg. I think he's a real genius. You can look him up if you want. He took the UN millennial goals. There's 200 of them. That's way too many goals if you're serious about goals, by the way, because 200 goals isn't a plan. It's a wish list. You have to prioritize. I'm serious. You have to prioritize. But they won't prioritize because each of the goals has its constituents. And if you prioritize, then you irritate the constituents.
That's the politics. I go into politics. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like you take this away, but I want this, so I'm out.
Yeah.
The more you take away, the more it's gonna be out.
Exactly.
But instead of solving every problem at once, pick like one or two to prioritize to solve, and then when we solve this, then we'll go to the next one.
But the problem is the theory is good theory, but putting it into reality is where it's going to get complicated because you have too many politicians at work, too many government officials at work that are more about me, and I want this and I want that because it boils down to money.
People want their problem to be solved first, and so instead of solving the most important problem, they say no, I want my problem to be solved first. Then we can go to everybody else's problems. If everybody thinks like that, then nothing's gonna get solved. You know?
And that's even if they do go to other people's problems, because as soon as their problem is solved, they're like, oh, okay, I don't really need to worry about so and so.
The goals has its constituents, and if you prioritize, then you irritate the constituents, but if you don't prioritize, then you can't implement the plan. So what Lomborg did was gather a teams of economists, multiple teams, some of whom were Nobel Prize winning economists. He had them assemble teams. He had them rank order development goals in terms of their return on investment, all of the teams. Then he averaged across the teams and came up with a final list. And addressing global warming wasn't even on the list. The most fundamental, he wrote a book called How to Spend $75 Billion to Make the World a Better Place, and that's not very much money on a global scale. Almost everything that he recommended had to do with increased child nutrition in developing countries. It's like, these things are complicated, man. These are complicated. It's like, well, let's fix global warming. It's like, okay, well, good luck with that. First of all, how are you going to do that? And to think that will unite us, well, certainly not uniting us so far. So, no. And it's the kind of low resolution thinking that just gets us absolutely nowhere. I like what Lomborg did way better. I think it's way more intelligent. So, maybe if you increase child nutrition enough and you produce another, I don't know, 10 million geniuses as a consequence of that, and maybe one of them will figure out what to do about global warming. Well, I'm serious about that, you know? It's not a bad thing to increase the total sum of human brain power, you know? And so we treat these things so lightly. Well, let's fix the planet. Well, we're going to concentrate on global warming. Well, why global warming? Well, because everyone thinks that's the biggest catastrophe. Well, maybe it is, but if you don't have a solution, well, and then what about all those other problems? What are you going to do about them? Well, we'll ignore them because we can feel good about, you know, being concerned about global warming. It's like, you know, one of the reasons, there's more trees in the Northern Hemisphere than there were 100 years ago. No one knows that, but it's true, and by a substantial margin. You know why, in part? Because people burned coal instead of wood. It's like everyone says, well, we shouldn't burn coal. It's like, okay, fair enough. What do you want to do, burn trees instead? Because that's what poor people would have done. It's like, coal isn't good. Well, it's better than burning wood. So these things are complicated. So they're unbelievably complicated. And so, no, it's not going to unite us. And we're not going to do a damn thing about it either. So it doesn't really matter. So, well, what are we going to do? You're going to stop, like, having heat? You're going to stop having electricity? You're going to stop driving your cars? You're going to stop taking trains?
No.
It's like you're going to stop using your iPhones? You're not going to do any of that. And no wonder. So, no.
Thank you for that.
I think the main point that Jordan Peterson is trying to make in the last part, I paused it, you won't pass it. I think it's saying that these things are very, very complicated. Mm-hmm. And I think we're trying to make them simple, but they're really not.
You can't. Because
that's
like,
why
on a broad aspect, it looks like a simple thing. Mm-hmm. But once you expand that and start asking questions about how to fix the problem, you realize it gets more and more complicated as you unwrap it.
So yeah,
it's like one of those gag gifts where the box is really big and then you open it and the box gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It's like
yes, global warming is a problem. Let's fix it. Okay.
How?
Then how? That's really complicated. How do we do that?
How?
Like,
when? Where?
It's not as simple as I thought it was. You know what I mean?
Why? Like
there's
all, and then everything's entangled within each other. So like fixing one problem could cause an effect on another problem. And now you have to fix that problem, but yet this problem still isn't fully fixed. So it's like a giant messy puzzle that you have to unravel. It's like those Christmas lights where you're trying to unravel them to get your tree decorated. But every time you unravel it, something else gets tangled. Yeah. And then something else.
So it's very complicated and we have to really, instead of calling other people, you know, I don't know, saying
and that's
nothing,
we like to point blame.
Yeah.
This person's fault, or it's that person's fault, or it's this and that. To be honest, it's everybody's fault.
I'll say it's a complicated thing, and I don't know how to solve it. I'm not gonna pretend I do know how to solve it.
Nobody really does. Not even Jordan Peterson, who's a very, very intelligent guy. He doesn't even know. There's no solution for that problem yet. I wouldn't say there's no solution ever, because you never know as time goes on. Like he said, more smart, developed minds get involved into this as future grows. Who knows? Maybe they'll be able to come up with a solution.
Then they'll be able to solve more problems.
But then again, that also causes another issue, because the way the world is going now and what we're teaching our kids now in school doesn't show any promise that there's going to be any smart, intelligent people in this world. So,
but
like I said, one issue causes to another issue, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's not an argument. It's like they're just talking for like hours.
We can go on and on.
But yeah, guys, just what you think about this, this topic. Give us your thoughts in the comments. Do you have an idea how to solve global warming? You know what I mean? Tell us what we can do about it. Let's start a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And be nice in the comments, guys. Be nice. I know it's a very sensitive topic. People tend to, get angry about it.
I said or else.
Oh yeah, people just think about it. But yeah, guys, that's all I got to say about it. Anything else you guys say?
No, that's it. Like I said, it's one of those topics that we could really ramble on about, and but we don't want to spend hours on this. And Jordan Peterson, he's so smart and intelligent. He makes you think about things that you weren't even thinking about. You think of one topic, you think it's simple, and then you realize there's so much more to it. Like he said, let us know in the comments below what you think. What do you think about Jordan Peterson's stance on this? As always, like, subscribe. Bye.